brain. Welcome into his frequency. Enter at your own risk. Come be at peace with me. Ask the Paul, where we rise and don't fall.
Welcome back to another episode of Baxter's Buzz. I am your host, Baxter E. Hall. Welcome to my brain. Welcome to my frequency. Enter at your own risk. Today, I have a special guest with me. She is the founder and principal consultant at HRAnswer.org. They work to make a positive, what was the word? Positive
Ripple.
I was thinking waves, positive ripples through progressive HR support to small business leaders. Niki Ramirez, welcome to Baxter's Buzz. How are you?
Baxter, thank you. Thanks. I'm great. I appreciate you inviting me. And how are you?
I am so excited today. We don't even have time to talk about how excited I am today. And I know I have a full day, but like I was really looking forward to connecting with you. And I can't think of a better way to start.
Likewise.
We were talking off air a bit about the whole waves and ripples. So like when you think about ripple, why did you choose that? Like, why do you choose that word when you want to describe like the impact that you want to make?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I always, whenever I am a guest on a podcast or do a panel and stuff, I like to always let people know when we do not prepare questions ahead of time, because I think that as you listen to podcasts and engage with people online, like it's a different conversation. And so like, again, I'm super grateful for the invitation. I love the organic feel, the natural conversation that you bring to the world. So your frequency, your vibe, I love this.
Thank you.
Ripples feel manageable. Waves feel overwhelming. So when I think about something I can sustain, something I can do forever until the day I die, I can help create positive ripples.
Yes. And some of those ripples become waves, right? But
that's out there beyond me. Like I did the thing to start it.
No, I love that.
I'm not a wave person.
Yeah. No, it's semantics in a sense, but it's also, I think it's really important to think about ripples in that fashion feel like things that you can control.
Yeah.
Right.
You could jump in and stop it if you wanted to, I suppose, right?
Yeah. But it's there are so many things that are out of our control that if we just focus on our inputs, I think we'll have a better like sense of like expectations and then like accountability for like our own actions, right?
Yeah. Indeed.
Yeah.
So we're working on that positive ripple. We just, when you're out in the world doing HR work or work where you're connecting with people, if you can just leave someone feeling slightly better than when you started with them that day, that time, that moment, that minute, that's the ripple. So even if you're leaving someone without a job, in HR, we do some pretty high stakes meetings, right? Like, sorry, but today's the end of your employment.
Yeah.
And I care about you and I know how hard this is. And we have resources and, things like that. You leave people better no matter what.
Yeah.
That's that ripple.
So we met a couple years ago, or I guess over a year ago now, at HR Unite. And we were talking like but fast forward to this year, we got a chance to spend a little bit more time together. You had this wonderful breakout session and I was like feverishly taking notes. And there's so much I want to talk to you about, but we don't have time for everything. But what I want to start with is this the self-awareness triangle. Sure. I was like, oh my gosh, like I think about we've talked a little bit about assessments and I know we'll get to some of that. I just think it's so important that our self-awareness, our self-assessment, and sort of determining where do we go from here, right? But we can't do that until we kind of know who we are and have a better understanding of like strengths and all that stuff. So tell me about the self-awareness triangle and like why is it important to you?
Yeah. So the self-awareness triangle comes from the concepts born from the 5 pillars of emotional intelligence. So that's Daniel Goleman's work. And, the first part of tackling emotional intelligence as a human is to become as self-aware as possible. And so that's where that comes from. This is the jumping off point for better emotional intelligence, which we know leads to more fulfilling relationships and a more fulfilling life personally. When I feel like I am congruent, when I am aligned, where my expectations are clear to people, where I am open to, knowing myself and improving myself, all of that's part of this big cycle. So the self-awareness triangle starts by inspecting, who do I think I am? And what do other people think of me? So you have to be ready to be vulnerable if you're going to engage in this work, because it's one thing to sit in your office or your bathroom or wherever you're sitting thinking and saying like, okay, this is how I am. Like I am, like for myself, like I am friendly, I am helpful, I am caring, I'm giving. I'm also sometimes impatient. Sometimes I am a procrastinator. Sometimes I have a hard time following through because I overcommit to things. Those are real things that I've learned about myself. And that's hard to hear sometimes, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And so you have to be willing to like see those positive things in yourself, but really hear what other people have to say. So whether it's my mom, my dad, my brother, my family here, my husband, my kids, my clients, my teachers, if I'm really being honest, those themes of things that are my weaknesses, like overcommitting, that is not a good thing. I wouldn't say that in an interview, like, what's your weakness? I overcommit. No, I overcommit to the point I don't deliver. Right. So I have to, over 25 years of working, I've become much better at it, like finding help, creating systems, things like that. But that was hard for me to really admit and say, now the next part of self-awareness, what are you willing to do about it? So how do you perceive yourself? How do you feel about it? What do you want to do now? Scooting to the end of it. Like, what are you motivated to do? Like, are you willing to do anything to be better, to do better? Because the thing that you need to work on, the dissonance between how I see myself and how someone else sees me, where I reveal my weaknesses, I can work on it or not.
Yeah. No, and that area between the way you see yourself and the way others see you is so important because we have this attitude, or most of us try to have this attitude where it's like, well, we don't care what other people think. And there's something to be said for like knowing who you are, right? But there's also like, are you reading the room correctly? Like, are you just completely missing the boat on some things?
Right.
You know what I mean? And I did what I call like a scouting report on myself years ago now, very similarly to like this self-awareness triangle, where I was like, okay, at my best, I am this. At my worst, I am this. And boy, oh boy, it's humbling. But it was really important that I really started to recognize how I was showing up places.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that I hear people say when we go through the self-awareness exercise in HR consulting is that, tell me, so the question is, tell me something that people say about you that makes you pause. Right. So I can think of a specific example, but this theme comes up often. People say I'm really blunt. I don't sugarcoat things. I'm like, oh, so you're rude. Okay. So you come off as rude.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
But you're feeling like that's a key like thing about like it's something to be proud of. And then now we're talking personality, right? Because my personality is not to be like that. Like even if I think that someone is doing something that is misaligned with policy, values, morals, whatever it is, I'm not going to be rude to them about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then that's the whole, like, am I willing to hear it? And like you said, like, whoa, you have these moments of clarity where like, okay, I have work to do.
Yeah.
What am I willing to do? And sometimes in between though, you have to also inspect, like, where did that come from? Where did I learn that? How
Yeah.
hard is it going to be able to change my behavior?
Yeah, what kind of work is this wiring like? Is this a
Mm-hmm.
day of
Mm-hmm.
rewiring, or is
Yep.
this like a lifetime of
Right.
rewiring?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it like learned behavior? Some things we learn like from our families, for example. Like this person, when I was working in one-on-one coaching with her, she's a leader in a chiropractic kind of organization, about 300 employees, lots of locations. So I got to work with her independently. And we talked and talked about this idea that, she comes off as this way. And then we needed to address it because it was stifling her growth within the company. And so we learned that her family is a military family, that is part of their like home culture, is to be very blunt, to be like a Marine family. So that's an even different level, different
Sure.
experience. Yeah, so we kind of tackled it from first, like, where did I learn this? And then, am I willing to come to terms with the fact that this particular thing that I've learned people perceive about me, it is going to slow me down in my work relationships or my work progression. So then, yes, if I'm willing to, I understand that there are ways to learn new behaviors, and that it's going to take time and continued self-awareness and some stumbling and some tough feedback.
Yeah, yeah, it's not easy, communicating with people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-mm.
There's this podcast idea that I haven't done anything with yet, but like, so we have this cat,
Mm-hmm.
Marley, and my wife will be like if Marley starts to meow too much, she's like, what, like, what is it? Like, what is it, Marley? And Marley can't talk, but she's like, what is it? And I think that there's something to be said, like, for we would we are so used to guessing and
Mm-hmm.
assuming what
Mm-hmm.
people want, even though it frustrates the heck out of us.
Mm-hmm.
It's more comfortable than having those conversations with people, right?
Yep.
And really
Yep.
find out what they really need or what their real feedback is for you,
Yep.
right? Because
Yeah.
you may not want to hear it.
Mm-mm. No, we're not always ready for it. Yeah. So it does take some mental preparation to get ready for, some self-awareness engagement. And we encourage folks to talk to your family and friends first. Those are the most
Yeah.
comfortable relationships where, although it might be hard to hear, there's a feeling that even if this person's honest with me, it's not going to ruin our relationship. When we start asking around at work, there is an inherent power dynamic. And so if I'm asking my boss, if I'm asking a skip level supervisor, or I'm asking around in the workplace, it could be revealed that I'm not as exceptional as people thought or as I thought. And so there's a power struggle where I might worry about my job security.
Mm.
And so we have to account for that in the workplace. Like self-awareness is great for, as an entrepreneur, I'm like, sure, lay it on me. It's not gonna, I'm not gonna lose my job over it, right?
Right. Yeah,
But
yeah,
for the
and
majority of folks, we are in a constant power struggle. No matter how amazing an organization is, there is a power dynamic at play. And so
for
our
sure.
ability to be self-aware and to be candid about it is going to be stifled unless we have a psychologically safe work environment.
Hmm. Man, I mean, I've been seeing a therapist this year for the first time, and so many of
Oh,
the things.
congrats. We're
Thank
all in
you.
therapy at this house. My husband
Good.
and I go to couples therapy. My kids go individually. We sometimes have a whole family session.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, where does this stuff originate?
Mm-hmm.
Why do I feel like this? How did I get
Mm-hmm.
this way?
Yep.
These are all
Mm-hmm.
heavy questions, right? And
Totally.
but important work though, I think. I
Yep.
really do. I do believe that.
Yep.
So, during your presentation, I know you gave us so much to chew on, and there were like basically like here's basically I do like an hour of all of these, but I only have an hour, so let me work
Mm-hmm.
through some of these things.
Yep.
What I gathered was that um the clients that you work with are like super important to you, and you really try to sort of walk the talk with your own team that you are, you know, that you are advised, very, it's a parallel between what you're advising these clients. Like, what are some of the things that you love most about working with these small business leaders, and like, what are the things that you get most excited about?
Yeah, I think I do really try to be authentic, and I call it like field experiments. So if I'm going to suggest to someone that they should, for example, offer their employees complete autonomy in their schedule, it's because I've been doing it for 7 years and it works. You know what I mean? And not in every environment. I mean, we support like retail businesses where like a person can't walk off the job and leave a cashier post, but they sure should be able to do their own work ahead of time, find a replacement, and let you know that they're leaving and Baxter's coming on. That should not be a problem.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we should not bat an eye at that sort of thing. So yeah, I mean, I just love being able to help our clients to see that through the like care and compassion, through expressing that in the workplace with their teams, that's really what unlocks potential. And so, we really do.
Say that again. Say that again. That's important.
Yeah. Expressing care and compassion in the workplace, it unlocks potential. So until someone cares, they what's that? Is it, who says it? Until they know, right?
No one cares
How much you know until they know how much you care.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll figure out who that's attributed to, but it is like, it's in there in my brain, and it's like a philosophy that we need to live by and at work. That we first express care and compassion. We first show people how much we care. First, we express empathy. First we're sympathetic, and then everything else is manageable. Like the problems, the mistakes, the pitfalls, all of that is more manageable when we have a relationship where I understand that even if things aren't great, it doesn't mean that you think I'm incapable, or you think that I'm incurable, or you think I'm not worth the effort, because I know that you think I'm worth the effort. And so now the onus is on me to put in the effort, to ask for the resources. So that's what we're helping our clients to really unlock. And that even starts with like making handbook policies work in that way, like create mechanisms within your policies to ensure that your employees, when they read through that boring document, my son just came home with a new one. It's on his desk upstairs in his bedroom. And I'm like chomping at the bit to grab it and read it. He's like slapping my hand, get out of here. Like, stop it, Mom. You're such a weirdo. But, when we're crafting employment policies, there's nothing to say that we can't write a policy about how we take care of our employees. Right. I'm married to an attorney, and he assures me that yes, we should have an FMLA policy if we're subject to FMLA, and that should be written a certain way. But if you want to include other policies that express to people, what are your guidelines and guide rails for building relationships, go for it. It's not going to take anything away from your employment policies. So we're just trying to help people to create these systems where they can express care and concern so that the hard work can get done.
And I think it comes back to the psychological safety that I've heard you mention, on a few different occasions, right? And having that rapport, I think is super important. It's interesting. I was just we were meeting with a client yesterday, and we were talking about, open enrollment is coming up, right? And we were having these pre-renewal conversations and things that we maybe want to add and offer for the employees next year that we maybe don't have today. And the company has a really interesting policy around, like we were talking about, like short-term disability, long-term disability, and how if folks go out on leave, they'll have a certain amount for short-term and long-term, but they do additionally make them whole from a compensation standpoint for like 4 months. And it's like, that's amazing. That's not something you come across very often. And it's like, but those are the types of things that keep people versus, where if they're going, this company pays a little bit more money,
right?
But when when this is when you're going through that situation and someone extends this to you and
Yeah.
you realize, wow, they, it appears they really care.
Mm-hmm.
You're probably less likely to move for a dollar or two, or
Yeah.
$10,000 raise, right, or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we know, from an overall job design perspective, like, yeah, compensation and the take home pay is important, but those perks and benefits, they really do go a long way. We have to be marketable from a comp perspective. Salaries have to be within a market range, a
Yeah.
mean or a median at least. But, aside from that, I mean, there will definitely be wonderful talent that sticks around when they know that you have things like recovery leave. If
Mhm.
if they or someone in their family needs to go to treatment to, get off of drugs or stop using too much alcohol,
Yeah.
those are leaves that I see people offering that are really compassionate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Compassionate bereavement leave that you can take at any time throughout a whole year when someone that you love, that's close to you or important to you, dies. This is something like in lots of cultures, the funeral, the journey is happening for a whole year. And so the
Absolutely.
celebration happens a year or more later after the physical passing of a person. And we're like,
Mhm.
oh, well, go to the funeral for 3 days and good luck with your loss.
Yeah. 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 Some of the things that are popular now,
Mm-hmm.
it feels like, of course these things matter.
Right?
Why didn't we look at this
Yeah.
stuff before,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so you mentioned our friend Eric Kershaw. He is a self-proclaimed disc nerd.
Indeed.
And I love him, and that's how we
Yep.
met. We connected talking about that stuff is fascinating to me. And
Mm-hmm.
I was part of a cohort last year around predictive index.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and so that's what we use at work. And
Love
you
it.
know, I I think my therapy started last year during that cohort, because I realized some things about myself. I'm like, oh my goodness,
Yeah.
it's probably a really good segue into therapy this year. But then we do it internally. So for all of the service teams that I work with, just
Mm-hmm.
understanding their wiring, the best way to
Mm-hmm.
communicate
Yeah.
with them has been really important to me, to make sure that I, that my message is conveyed in the best way, especially if there's
Absolutely.
different difficult conversations that need to be had.
Yeah.
Um, but you have an assessment that you are a huge fan of. Talk about
Mm-hmm.
Kobe and kind of why you think
Yeah.
it's so important.
Yeah. So just to start back at Eric and the disc, he's our go-to disc guy too. Like if someone asks me like, hey, our team would like to do this, I'm like, then you need to speak with Eric. That's his area of specialty. And so the disc and predictive index both are excellent tools for inspecting personality, attitudes, values, and beliefs. And so that is an amazing tool to have when you are working to create, effective working relationships, space to have conversations about how you like to do your work and how you like to communicate and things like that. And the complementary index that we use. So these things go together well. That's kind of what I'm saying here too. It's not one or the other. They're so very different that they're amazing complementary tools. So at hranswers.org, we use the Kolbe A index with all of our clients and on our team. And the Kolbe A index is part of the Kolbe system. And so I'm a certified consultant. And it took me about 5 years. And this is a part of my Kolbe profile. It took me about 5 years of researching DISC, Strengths Finder, Predictive Index, all of the different tools that a person could be certified to share with their clients and the world, to choose the Kolbe, because I am what's called an initiating fact finder on my Kolbe A
Mm,
profile, which means when I'm trying to make an important decision or solve a goal, I'm going to research it to death.
yeah,
Analysis paralysis.
yeah.
I research to the point that I don't make decisions.
Mm,
So I know then on my team, for example, at work and in life at home, I need people around me who are more quick to make decisions, who are a little bit less risk averse than I am, because I am pretty risk averse. And that's pretty standard for HR people. We're like, yeah, don't fix it, or don't monkey with it if it's not broken.
Yeah.
Does this align with the law? Like those are
Yeah.
questions we care about in HR.
For sure.
So the Colby's inspecting how we do things inherently, instinctually, when we're free to be ourselves. So when you take the Colby A index, which I hope you'll do when I send you over a little link.
No. Say it like you said it to me off air.
What did I say? You have to do it?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's always a chance you won't take it, so I'll be gracious. Like you have to take it, though. You have to. Yeah. So when you take it, there are some pretty explicit instructions to just answer as if there like nothing was on the line. You're free to be yourself. You have plenty of money. You're healthy. You're safe. Just answer the question as if there were no implications. You are just free to be yourself. And that's where we reveal our instinctual way of making decisions and getting things done. And so through the Colby index, we get this profile, and then we use the profile to help us to design teams that are capable of getting all sorts of goals accomplished. And each person is free to be themselves during the process. So when we think about like conflict in the workplace, there is personality conflict. So sometimes like your predictive index, your DISCs, Myers-Briggs, things like that will help us to understand personality and then solve for that. And then there's process and task conflict as well. And that's how we do things and what should be done. What should we do first? And how should we accomplish the goal? And so that's what the Colby helps us understand. So once we have the personality side information, now we complement it with the instinctual problem solving side, and you can't lose.
That's so important, and you don't think about it that way, but it's like, yeah, the way I process things, we could be great friends, but when we are working on this task, if we have a difference, if we don't respect or appreciate the others like differences in these ways,
we're making assumptions, and that's where the conflict happens. Like, have you ever tried to put furniture together with someone else?
Like my wife?
Sure, your wife.
Never.
Okay, why not?
Let's just say hypothetically I have, but I try to avoid it at all costs.
Or do like a landscaping project, or buy a car or a house.
No, for sure. Yeah,
like high stakes kind of decisions, right? And so sometimes just the way we go about making a decision and accomplishing a goal is very different. And so like my husband and I, we survived putting together a big storage bin for our backyard recently. And I say we survived it because our profiles are rapidly, or they're like dramatically on different ends of the spectrum in some ways from looking at our Colbys. So I am this person who like reads the instructions that are printed 10 times. And then I might also watch a YouTube video of someone putting this thing together. And he's like, okay, doing that. He's a super quick reader and learner. Then he's just starting to put things together. And I'm like, stop.
Yeah. We didn't read. We didn't read. Yeah. No, we have some similar dynamics going on in this house where my wife is the one who, her brain, she's more mechanically inclined, and it takes me a little long to like see, like I'm a little squirrely, and so I'm looking at the diagram, but it may not make sense to me until I read it a couple of different times, and I'm like, oh, okay, and and so but at that point we're probably both frustrated. But then so definitely.
And at work, Baxter, how that shows up is like you're on a team to choose a new payroll company or a new benefits broker or a new ben admin type system, right? And you have your certain method for accomplishing goals and solving problems. So maybe maybe the person's like me and they're researching. And maybe somebody else wants to get into the demo, but it's not time for that. Like you're thinking like, no, it's too early for the demo. We don't know enough about the system. And so you're like, Baxter rushes through everything. Well, no, Baxter's probably just initiating in quick start, it's called, which is somebody who needs to try things out, see it in motion, experiment, to feel like they have the information to make the decision and finish the task. So there's just different ways of going about stuff. And so, and we assign these sort of judgments to people based on how they're just behaving instinctually. And it's not that we don't share the same common goal. It's just that we're tackling it differently.
Yeah. And you know, the understanding yourself and realizing you're not the weirdo. You're not the only one that thinks this way or processes this way or responds this way.
Yep.
You're like, okay, like, you know, I'm just different and it's okay, right? But if you're around a certain type of personality, often you may look like the oddball. So no, Kobe A index. I'm on it.
We're doing it.
Yes,
I'll get it to you before my next meeting. You do it when you're ready, and we'll chat.
And then we're gonna talk about it.
Yeah, but then that's, you know, back to your question about self-awareness triangle, though. Whatever feels like a good fit for us, we should do that. We should do the indexes, we should do the assessments, we should go to therapy, we should ask our family and friends. And when we're ready, we should ask our boss and our coworkers how they perceive us and figure out then, you know, what is my plan for individual success? What am I willing to do to continue to grow in my profession or grow as a person?
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, this is great. This is great. And I got more work to do for sure, but I think I have some more tools now, thanks to you. So she is the founder and principal consultant at hranswers.org, making a positive ripple through progressive HR support to small business leaders and small businesses in general. Niki, thank you so much. This is really, really good. I know that we're going to continue our conversations, whether they're on air or off air.
Indeed.
So thank you. So on behalf of Niki, I am Baxter E. I want everyone to know, if they're listening or watching this, that you are all capable. You just need to embrace your own frequency. Yes, this has been great. And until next time, peace.
Welcome into his brain, welcome into his frequency. Enter at your own risk, come be at peace with me.
Thank you so much for watching this video. If you haven't already, please hit the like button, please subscribe, share, and also hit that notification button as well. Thank you so much.
Financial literacy to authentic Black history, this real rap.